What's up, everybody? Socksway up here with a follow-up video from my how to fix missing assets in Cities Skylines. We've gotten a lot of questions about, now that we know how to fix the assets, how to find the assets that are missing, how do we improve the performance? And I personally have become pretty burnt out with Cities Skylines because of the performance of my game. So I decided to take a little dive into why is it slow? Are there mods, are there assets that are causing that? Are there fixes that we could do just to fix the game and make it run quicker, make it load faster? Personally, the 12 minutes my game's taking to load is really killing my motivation right now. And there's some things that I found online. There's you might want to increase your page file. I don't think that's a solution personally. Based on some videos I've seen, I don't think there's much of a change there. So we're going to dive into some things that I've started to do on my game that I've already seen a FPS boost, and I'm not using the FPS booster mod. We might add that in again once we get it more stable and see if we can get it even more performant. But next we're going to jump into the game and we're going to take a peek at why I'm trying to improve my performance and some of the reasons why I'm burnt out and a little tired of dealing with this older game that we're abusing with mods, and see if we can improve it. All right, so we're into some of the gameplay here, and we're going to show a little bit of the secret sauce that goes behind making some cinematic camera views. And I have one loaded up that was really the thing that got me really cranky. You can kind of see in the background already, things are choppy. We got 12 frames per second, not ideal at all. When we run the cinematics here, you can see right now we're at 14 frames a second. It starts flying out and it gets very, very choppy. This doesn't make for a good experience. It doesn't make for good videos, especially when it's something you want to show off. And you can see the assets in the background, the props start unloading, and I went way overboard with the props in this area. So it's probably my fault, but you can see as we zoom out and the props unload, the frames per second spike up. So I wanted to see, is there a way for me to keep that many props, especially those decals that we have that stain the concrete, and potentially get the frames per second to improve. And once this ends, one of the first things that I've done so far was, whoops, not that. So we're at 1211 right now. If I do, I'm using, nope, not that one. So we get some things loaded up here. Let's get frames per second showing again and try to get that on front. I noticed right away the sun shafts mod. I disable that, drops back down to 12. That right away increased it to 14 in this area. Let's get this out of the way. Can I move that? I can move neither of them. They compete with each other. That's right, you can kind of see it in the background. And then, so now we're at 14, which isn't, still not ideal. All right, we're gonna take a peek at our sharp textures. I'm gonna lower this to high. You can see in the background, we're down to 10 frames per second. Let's close that back up. 15. So that didn't do much. That didn't do much so far. Let's go ahead and hide the sun rays because we know we don't want those on right now. So let's hide that. Let's open up our post processing, and I'm going to turn this radius down just a hair, and we're going to pull the intensity back. So a lot of this stuff makes for really good pictures, but is it worth it? We can see now this one didn't really affect it. We're pretty good still. That's not hurting our frames per second at the moment. Again, up here, it's looking great. Actually, the game's running a little bit better than it did previously when I was testing it and getting frustrated. We come over to this area. We're getting 19. Let's go back to F8. Let's turn those on. You can see we lost about 4 frames per second. Turn that back off. And it pumps up to 19, 18. So that's given us an improvement already. And let's see if we can figure out some other things. All right, this next part, now that we got it up to about 15 around here, we're gonna see how much of this is my fault. So we're gonna move it. We're gonna remove a bunch. Actually, we're gonna grab all of these decals. All of these decals, we're gonna remove them. Instantly went up to 24%, 25. So what that tells me is this is a little bit my fault. So what I think for this area, which was the thing that really started frustrating me, we're gonna redo this area and go a little more conservative with the decals, and they look like crap anyways. So that's one thing. So that's a little bit of tuning. You can see here a little preview of what we're working on next. Yeah, that's all you're gonna see though. That's a good start to this. The next segment we're going to transition into looking at why the load time takes so long. We're also going to take a peek at, do you need every asset that you have installed? I do not. I want to take a peek at figuring out how to safely remove assets from my workshop so that I can have the game load quicker, have less assets in memory, less assets in virtual memory as well, and maybe get the game to perform even better, allow me to load the game a lot quicker, which is really what's driving me nuts right now, is not being able to load the game quick and just get into a session and start playing. And I know it's a lot of people are complaining about that as well and are a little confused when the game stops responding. So let's go ahead and transition into that now. All right, the next thing we're going to take a peek at is utilizing what we've learned with the missing assets report in the last video, or a while ago we did this video. So let me do that a little bit slower for you. We're going to type in run in the search bar. We're going to move this up here so you can see it better. We're going to type in percentage app data percentage, hit OK. We're going to go back to the app data folder because mine goes to roaming for some reason. Go to local. We're going to go to Colossal Order, Cities Skylines. We're going to go into report, and this has changed since I made that video, and we want the asset report. So we're going to open that on up. You can see this is from my last run of starting to create episode 4 of Salt River Valley. So here we have 0 assets failed. I do have a lot of missing assets, which I could go through and try to fix. I don't think that has anything to do with my loading time, as we kind of discussed in the previous video. But as we keep scrolling down here, there's a lot of cool things on here that we didn't touch in that video. The following custom assets are used in your city. It would not be safe to remove any of these assets. We're going to keep scrolling. You see we use a lot. The following assets are currently unnecessary, not used in your city. Look at all of these assets. Now, this is where you have to make choices on your own. You can take a peek. I mean, I have a ton. This is going to take a long time to sort through. What I'm going to do is we're going to start grabbing some of them, removing them, and then I do have multiple cities I'm building right now, so I have to be a little more careful, maybe cross-reference a couple of these load screens. But there are so many things I'm not using, and if I get rid of a good amount of these, and then we come back and say, let's just grab a random one here. Football, what is this? All right, so if we look at these football assets, potentially I'm not going to use these at all in this city, but we might. And so I want to keep an eye on that. I'll probably want to remove it. And then later on, if I decide to add that to an episode, I can do it then. All right, while I'm removing a bunch of assets from my game and hopefully not breaking it more, I wanted to show another screen here. This is the actual folder where all the assets are stored in my computer. And so how you can get to this is, let's go ahead and hit properties. We're going to copy this path so we can show you and open in a different window. So let's copy that. We'll do a new file explorer. We're going to paste this in. So on mine, it's program files 86 Steam apps, workshop content, and then 255710 is the City Skylines number. And so in here, then we want to search for, let me remember what that is, star CRP. So over here, we're going to do star.crp. And that's going to search for all of the City Skylines assets. And then we're going to switch over to view, sort by size. So now I'm going to take a look at these larger assets that we have installed and see if I want them as well. So one way we can do that is we can go to this one and go to properties. You go all the way over to the right. You can grab this number at the end, and I'll show you a little trick on finding that in the asset store. We're going to jump on over here, and you just go to the workshop. You can click on any of the assets and then change the ID in the browser to that number that was at the end of that, and that's going to pull up that asset. And this one's taking up almost 1/4 of a gig of RAM. When it loads, we're going to uninstall it. If I use it, we're going to replace it. I'm not even going to use that one, But then also we can take a look at the rest of these and say, do I need this map theme? Because I'm using the theme mixer. So all of these map themes are loading when my game loads. So I'm gonna go through some of these and get rid of them. Some of these larger vehicles as well, and just kind of go through here and say, these large ones are eating up a lot of memory. Do I really need them? And kind of pick and choose my assets that I want to get it down to a more reasonable number for my computer to be able to load. And so we're at that point pretty much. So let's go back to the browser and look at our asset report. At the bottom, we had 8,014 assets. It's taking, it's able to load in 120 assets per second. So custom asset load time was 1 minute, but the total game load time was 10 minutes and 56 seconds. That is the thing I'm trying to improve. You can see our peak memory usage was 23.5 gigs of RAM and 55.2 virtual memory. So yeah, we're gonna load up the game, see if that improves, take a peek at these stats and see if we need to go farther and see if it even improves the performance of the game as well. All right, the first test, I don't think I removed enough. It still took about 9 minutes to load. We'll show those stats in a little bit, but you can see I'm a little torn on whether or not this is improving the performance. Frames per second are up a little bit. The choppiness is still there, not as choppy. I think we're gonna keep going and see if we can get this even better. I did a little glance across the city. I haven't lost anything, so the unused assets report was accurate. The city looks the same, it's functioning the same. And we have 40 frames per second this high all of a sudden. That's pretty insane. All right, like I said, we're gonna show the stats. If we look at them side by side, on the left is our first run, 10 minutes and 56 seconds. So we saved a little over a minute and I removed about 600 assets. I'm gonna keep going. I think I'm gonna try to get it down to about 6,000 total assets and see how that goes. One of the things I thought was interesting is the music played the entire time during this load, and it didn't on the first one. The music cut out, the game stopped responding, and then the game loaded. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that. I'm gonna keep plugging away at this and report back. All right, we went a little aggressive. We lost some fences. I'm a little sad about that, but I'm gonna be able to fix that. And I think there's some other things. I'm gonna have to go look at some footage of how some of the buildings that were missing here and some of the details. I went a little aggressive with the assets. There's no fence around here. The gate's still there though. But yeah, we can fix that. I think overall, you can probably hear my voice. It's getting much better, much more happy with the outcome here. And I think what we set out to prove we did. We can remove a bunch of assets. We can potentially improve the performance of the game by limiting what's installed or what's loaded at load time to what we have running in our game. And we go down to the very bottom, you can see we've improved to almost 8 minutes. I got it down to 6,200 assets. I'm gonna keep going. I think it's a good time to end this video though. I think it turned out good. I like the outcome that we found here. All right, I think that's a good place to wrap up this this video. I think we learned a lot about Cities Skylines and how the assets that you install really control the performance of the game, and then also some of the mods that you use can potentially ruin your experience by overdoing it. And I think some of them, like the sunshades, I'm going to use for screenshots and not necessarily for cinematics. And when I'm doing the gameplay, I'm going to disable some things or turn down the settings on some things while I build so that the frames per second are high enough so I can still enjoy it. And then I'll kick those things up to give cool screenshots and maybe some, tiny cinematics, stuff like that. But yeah, all right, so the next thing I'm going to do, and I'll probably do a video kind of highlighting it, I'm going to start making collections in Cities Skylines. I'm going to make like my base mod essentials collection. Then I'm going to do like a performance improving mods, and then a detail improving mods, and then some asset collections as well to help me organize Cities Skylines. And I can quickly remove those collections and add them for different cities, and we could organize our game and our workshop and collections a lot better that way. So look forward to that video. And at this point, I'm going to say peace out. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you have any questions. Hit up our Discord. You can join in there and we can chat about it and maybe get into more detail than in this video, because I know there's a lot of questions that come in on the comments and I'd like to be able to respond to them more in real time, and Discord's a good tool for that. So have a good day. I'll see you next time.